Let's go through the U.S. history eras as if it was the eras tour. Now, this is primarily aimed at AP U.S. history students who are getting ready to take the test, because the best thing you can do over the next few weeks, instead of memorizing a bunch of facts, is make sure that you can kind of clarify and overgeneralize the 9 eras of U.S. history. So let's do it as if they're Taylor Swift albums. Unit 1 is our debut era, 1491 to 1607. Keep in mind that your 1491 is symbolic. It just basically means the pre-Columbian indigenous era. And this is very much like a debut on the era store. It doesn't show up very much on the AP exam. And when we're talking about debut, we're really thinking about it from the perspective of European colonizers, specifically in North America, the Spanish and the French. I'm sure to those European explorers and colonizers, they felt like they were all alone on their own, and that's all they know. They're just trying to find a place in this world, right? Meanwhile, the indigenous people are like, hello, we really should have said no, right? When the Europeans arrived, now, they didn't actually really have much of a choice. They tried to resist, but alas, a girl can dream. Unit 2 is our fearless era, 1607 to 1754. This is the era of English colonization. We might think of this as the 13 original colonies. And to be fair, you had to be fairly fearless, right? To dive headfirst into this new world, hop on a ship, have no idea what's waiting for you. Now, keep in mind that English colonies were founded for all very different reasons. We can really oversimplify, though, and say that some were founded more for economic freedom, economic purposes, like in Jamestown and the South. They're sitting there with their stupid pride, just like trying to make money so that ideally maybe they can go back to England, or they can at least develop a new form of kind of an aristocracy that mimics what's going on in England here in the southern colonies. Meanwhile, in the North, in New England, especially Plymouth and Massachusetts, they're there for religious freedom. They're coming with families. They want to stay and never go back. Remember that a lot of the Puritans were kind of forced out of England, right? You might say that, like, it seems to me this thing is breaking down. We almost never speak. I don't feel welcome anymore. So they're like, see ya, king. We think that you haven't purified the church enough anyway, so we're going to form our like city upon a hill, our kind of perfect Puritan society over here. Remember that there is going to be conflict throughout the colonial era. That's going to be with indigenous groups against white settlers. That's going to be the lower socioeconomic classes, especially in the southern colonies, against this planter aristocracy. And also just like Puritans versus everyone who's super annoyed by the Puritans. All of those groups would say to like the people in power, you're not sorry, right? Like, all this time I was wasting hoping you would come around. I've been giving you chances. All you do is let me down. Come on, let's go. And don't forget that this is the era of the rise of a unique form of chattel slavery, again, unique to the English colonies in North America. Chattel slavery meaning that the belief is that the descendants of enslaved people, it is now an inherited trait through the mother. And so from the perspective of the enslavers, right, like, you belong with me. By the end of this era, the American colonists had developed a sort of distinct identity, which is going to make them decide that it's time to speak now.